my last video, I talked about the rise of Barcelona. It was unfortunately taken down, but I talked about the summer transfer of Ewa Pajor from Wolfsburg and how dominant her season has been for Barcelona. Well, in this video, I'm going to put forth a case of why I think the Polish striker is a Ballon d'Or frontrunner this year, a brief history of her career, as well as going over some of her competition for the prestigious award. This isn't necessarily who I think should win, but this is a case of why she is a top contender. I'm Rapid Goalposts, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Poland may not be known for many footballers, but oh my god do they produce strikers. Especially ones who end up at Barcelona after a long career in the Bundesliga. It was clear from a young age that the now 28-year-old was going to be a star. She made her top-flight debut in Poland at the age of 15, with Medyk Konin becoming a sensation. Oh, and did I mention she scored a brace in her debut at 15 years old? What? In her first full season with Medyk, at the age of 16, she was already one of the best players at the club during the 2012-2013 season. She'd go on to win the Extraliga twice and the Polish Cup 3 times in 3 seasons with the club. But what really drew attention to the young star was the Women's Champions League. After winning the league in the 2013-14 season, Medyk dominated the Champions League qualifiers, their first time qualifying for the competition. Notably, the 17-year-old Pajor scored in all the qualifying games, netting a whopping 4 goals against Finland's Åland United. The Polish club was awarded with a round of 32 tie against Glasgow United, which Pajor made the most of. They shocked the Scottish club 2-0 in Konin, Poland, with Pajor scoring the opening goal in the 53rd minute. Unfortunately, the club then proceeded to lose 3-0 in the reverse fixture, but still, it was a great result for a club that never qualified before. Ewa Pajor's insane goal tally in Poland and performance in the Champions League at such a young age drew the attention of a German giant, Wolfsburg. The reigning DFB Pokal champions signed the 18-year-old in the 2015 summer transfer window in hopes they could reclaim the Bundesliga. Once Pajor got settled into the higher level of competition after her first season with the club, she was unstoppable, and success for Wolfsburg followed. Pajor's true breakout season was in 2018-2019, where she scored 24 goals for the She-Wolves in the Frauen Bundesliga alone, leading the league with teammate Pernille Harder behind her at 18. From 2016 through the 2019-20 season, she helped Wolfsburg win 4 straight Bundesliga titles, as well as another in the 2021-22 season. Not only that, she won 9 straight DFB Pokals with Wolfsburg up until her departure. 1 every year. It is here where we get to her departure, though. When Pajor joined Wolfsburg, they were a top 3 club in Europe, winning 2 Champions Leagues in a row in 2013 and 14. They remained the top club in Germany, but always managed to fall short of the Champions League when she was there. After Pajor joined Wolfsburg, they got knocked out of the Champions League by Lyon 5 times in a row. That's right, 5 years of just straight misery. 3 of these times were in the Champions League final. Absolutely heartbreaking. They finally made it to the final again in the 2022-23 season against Barcelona. Yeah, they didn't win the Frauen Bundesliga that season, but they made it to the Champions League final. There's nothing to suggest that anything was necessarily wrong at the club. Wolfsburg actually entered halftime with a 2-0 lead over Barcelona, with Pajor scoring in the 3rd minute. Then, disaster struck for the club. Barcelona roared back and scored 3 unanswered. This is where everything changed for Wolfsburg, and people started to notice something was wrong. Why didn't the wonderkid Jules Brandt play a single minute in the final? What caused their defensive collapse? Was it just how good Barcelona's offense was? It was amazing, but does it warrant this collapse? The next season caused even more questions, as Wolfsburg were knocked out of the Champions League in the qualification round to Paris FC. Absolutely embarrassing. With reports of some player turmoil and the obvious ineptitude of Tommy Stroot, the writing for Pajor was on the wall. If the Polish striker wanted to win a Champions League title once in her career, it would most likely have to be somewhere else. In a difficult goodbye, she left Wolfsburg that summer for Barcelona after 9 years, scoring 20 goals in 25 appearances in her final season for the She-Wolves. The Catalan sun can dry up tears pretty quickly, though. This transfer made a lot of sense for both player and club. For Barcelona, though, they needed a striker after failing to find a true number 9 following the departure of Jennifer Hermoso back in 2022. They still managed to win despite this, somehow. Like, Salma Pereira was playing at striker, and as amazing as a player she is, she's not a striker, so you have to scheme a lot differently. It is here where we get to the 2024-25 Ballon d'Or season, where Pajor hit the ground running for Barcelona. So, what has she done this season that possibly makes her the top contender for the Ballon d'Or so far? Simply put, Pajor has been the best goal-scoring threat in Spain this season, maybe even in all of Europe. She leads Liga F in goals scored with 19 in 24 games, 19 of those being starts. She also leads Liga F strikers in assists with 7. She also leads strikers with shots on target and chances created. Despite being only 5'6", she has also been pretty effective in aerial duels, winning over 50%, and has shown good defensive effort for a striker overall. This is the main selling point, though. In all competitions, she has scored 33 goals in only 36 games, already a record for her in a club season. Now, there could be an argument made about the difficulty of the Spanish league, obviously. None of her goals have come in 4 appearances in the La Copa de la Reina, but to be fair, they have crucially all come against top-flight teams. Another positive stat for her is that she's been the only Barcelona player this season to score a hat-trick. Not only that, she has scored 5 hat-tricks. She has been Barcelona's best player this season, which, means a lot looking at her competition at that club. Compared to other forwards in similar leagues, she is obviously in the 100th percentile of goals scored, and crucially 95th percentile of chances created. A player's performance in the Champions League, though, is a great equalizer across what you think of the difficulty of the domestic leagues. Off the bat, Pajor has been good in the Champions League, 6 goals and 2 assists and 9 appearances, and leads the league in shots on target with 18. However, 6 out of 8 of her contributions have come against either Hammarby IF or St. Polten. Hammarby is a great club, but in 4 games against Man City and her former club Wolfsburg, she only totaled 1 goal contribution, an assist in a 3-0 win against Manchester City. However, she is coming off scoring the opening goal against Chelsea in the Champions League semi-final and played well as they crushed Chelsea 4-1. While she is scoring goals, she is below the 65th percentile among strikers in multiple key performance indicators in the Champions League this year, a vast difference compared to her performance in Liga F. And it is here where Pajor is more vulnerable to competitors for the award. First off, 3 of her competitors are from her very own club: Aitana Bonmatí, Caroline Graham Hansen, and Alexia Putellas. Now, Bonmatí and Putellas have also had great seasons for Barcelona, but statistically, Pajor is definitely in the lead. Again, this isn't a who should win, this is who could win, and they do have better PR and recognition than Pajor, which is why I think they're likely to win over her. As we now know, the Women's Ballon d'Or can kind of be more of a popularity test, for lack of better words, given the fact women's football isn't as visible across the world. In other words, the Ballon d'Or is heavily influenced by international competitions of that year, like the World Cup, Olympics, and Euros. With the Euros being this summer and Spain expected to be favorites compared to Poland, who will most likely knock it out of the group, Putellas and Aitana will have a huge boost over their teammate. It's not fair, as Pajor is having a better season for Barcelona, but it is unfortunately the way it is. Caroline Graham Hansen is having a great statistical season also and is definitely challenging Pajor. She is also a bigger name, especially since she came up just short in second place last year's Ballon d'Or race. But I don't consider her as much of a threat as the other Barcelona players because of the fact the Ballon d'Or just refuses to vote for her usually. Like, last year was her first time ever being nominated, which, insane. As I said before, I think Pajor has been having the best season for Barcelona out of these 3 players. But what about players outside of her club? Here is where it gets tricky. At Pajor's position of striker, a rising favorite for the Ballon d'Or is the 21-year-old Haitian wonderkid, Melchie Dumornay. The Lyon Starlet's goal contribution tally is very impressive, considering she's playing as a striker when many believe her more as a 10 or a winger. She's playing out of position. In Division 1 Féminin, she has an insane 15 goals in only 16 games. The Champions League is the same story. She scored a goal in each of the Champions League quarterfinal games against Bayern Munich, and just scored the winning goal in the first game against Arsenal in the semifinals, and only has 1 less goal scored in the Champions League than Pajor. Dumornay's striker key performance indicators have been better in the Champions League than Pajor's. According to FotMob, Pajor has 88 successful passes in the Champions League with 70% success rate. Dumornay has 271 with an 83% success rate. Dumornay has also created 3 times more chances than Pajor in the Champions League, and remember, this is both considering them as strikers. So it is really easy to get the nod to Dumornay here, and I'll probably be pounding the table for her in October because of this. But there are some things to consider. 1, stats aren't everything in the media, and 2, the visibility of international breaks. As said before, the Women's Euros are this summer. While Poland is not expected to get out of the group, Pajor's every move will be watched. Haiti, on the other hand, do not have a huge competition this summer and have played mostly friendlies this year. This is crucial because a huge case for Pajor is what she has done for the national team. This year, Poland qualified for the Euros this summer in large part because of her efforts, upsetting Austria 2-0 in aggregate in the qualification final. After assisting the lone goal in the first game, she put the tie away with a last-second goal of her own in the second fixture, officially qualifying Poland for the tournament. Not only that, Pajor and Poland have gone off to a hot start in the Nations League this calendar year, on track to get promoted back to League A from League B. So, she has the club goals, she has the international influence. So, what needs to go Pajor's way in order to secure the Ballon d'Or, in my opinion? 1. If Barcelona win the Champions League, she needs to score in that game, or else the attention will go to the other 3 players. If Barcelona lose to Lyon, or Arsenal I guess, in the Champions League final, Pajor has to score even in the loss. She will also need Spain to underperform in the Euros, probably not making past the semifinals. As said before, Bonmatí and Putellas are the big competition. If Spain win, it will probably go to one of them since the Ballon d'Or is really inflated by these competitions. Like, for example, Olga Kamorna was 6th in 2023. Yeah, she scored in the final, but 6th place for a Real Madrid player? Over Alexandra Pop? Lastly, and this is crucial, Pajor needs to score probably at least 2 goals in the Euros in order to really pump her name up in the media. As much as we hate to say it, the Ballon d'Or is very influenced by the media. Anyways though, I hope you learned more about Ewa Pajor from this video. I am thinking of doing a series like this where I go over players' cases for the award, and I think she definitely should be a top contender. At this point in time, I think she and Melchie Dumornay should be the front runners this year, but unfortunately, they probably won't be because of the weight international competitions have on the award, unfortunately, even though they are playing better than some of their club teammates. Pajor does have a chance though, which would be great for Polish women's football. There is a lot of football left this year though. Who do you think has the best case for the Ballon d'Or at this point in the season? Let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you next video.